The storm started before sunset, but by night it became something much worse. The wind screamed through the trees like an angry animal. Rain hit the roof, so hard that Ethan could not hear his own thoughts. He lived alone near the mountains, far from the city, where storms often came without warning. But this one felt different. The ground shook more than once, and the air felt heavy, like something big was coming. Ethan checked the windows again. The power had already gone out. Only lightning gave short flashes of light inside the house. Every time the sky lit up, the forest outside looked strange and alive. Then a loud crash came from behind the barn. Ethan froze. It was not thunder. It sounded like something huge falling. For a long moment, he stayed still, hoping it was just a tree. But the sound of something moving followed. Slow, heavy, dragging across the ground. He grabbed his flashlight and stepped outside. The rain soaked him instantly. Mud pulled at his boots as he moved toward the barn. Another flash of lightning filled the sky, and Ethan stopped breathing. Something massive lay on the ground. At first, his mind refused to understand what he was seeing. It looked like a person, but far too large. A woman, easily 3 times his size, half covered in mud and broken wood. Her long hair was wet and spread across the ground like dark rope. One arm moved weakly. She was alive. Ethan's heart pounded. Every instinct told him to run back inside and lock the door. This was impossible. People were not supposed to be this big. Nothing about this made sense. Another lightning flash revealed her face. She looked young, but exhausted. Her skin had faint, glowing lines, like soft light moving under the surface. Her eyes opened slowly, and they found him. She spoke. Her voice was quiet but deep, almost lost in the storm. "Please, I cannot stay outside." Ethan stepped back. Fear climbed into his chest. He thought about calling for help, but the phones were dead. Roads were probably blocked. And even if help came, what would he tell them? A giant woman crashed near his barn? She tried to move again, but winced in pain. One of her legs was injured. Blood mixed with rainwater around her. "I will die in this cold," she said softly. Ethan hesitated. He knew this was dangerous. He knew nothing about her. But leaving her here felt wrong. She did not look angry or dangerous. She looked afraid. The storm grew stronger. The wind pushed against him, almost knocking him down. Finally, Ethan made a decision he would later question many times. He nodded. "There's an old storage building," he said, his voice shaking. "You can stay there until the storm stops." It took nearly an hour to help her move. She was weak, but careful, trying not to damage anything. Even injured, her strength was clear. The ground shook slightly with every step she took. Inside the storage building, she lowered herself slowly onto the floor. The small space suddenly felt tiny around her. Ethan kept his distance, unsure what to say. For a while, neither of them spoke. The rain hammered the roof above them. Then Ethan noticed something strange. As she closed her eyes, the glowing lines on her skin became brighter, pulsing slowly like breathing light. The air around her felt warmer. Not hot, just warm enough to fight the cold. "What are you?" Ethan finally asked. Her eyes opened again. There was sadness in them. "Someone who lost her home," she answered. Before Ethan could ask more, a low humming sound passed over the building. Both of them looked up. Through the broken window, a small flying drone moved across the dark sky, its red light blinking. The giant woman's expression changed instantly. Fear replaced exhaustion. "They are looking for me," she whispered. Ethan felt a chill that had nothing to do with the storm. Silence filled the room again. The wind howled outside, but inside everything felt still, like the world was waiting. After a long moment, she looked at him again, her voice softer now. "My people are dying," she said. "I came here for one reason." Ethan swallowed, unsure if he wanted to hear the answer. She took a slow breath. "I need help creating a child, or my species ends with me." The thunder outside crashed loudly, but Ethan barely heard it. His life, which had been simple only hours ago, suddenly felt like it was falling into something unknown and impossible. And the storm was far from over. Morning came slowly after the storm, but the sky remained gray and heavy. The wind had stopped, yet the silence outside felt strange, like the world was holding its breath. Broken branches covered the ground, and the road leading to Ethan's house was blocked by fallen trees. Inside the storage building, Ethan barely slept. Every sound made him wake up. He kept thinking about what the giant woman had said the night before. Her words did not leave his mind. She wanted a child. It sounded impossible, unreal. But when Ethan looked at her now, sitting quietly against the wall, she did not look dangerous. She looked tired, lost. Her name, she told him, was Lyra. She spoke slowly, choosing her words carefully, as if human language was still new to her. She explained that her world had once been peaceful, but war and sickness changed everything. Over time, her people stopped being able to have children. Their bodies failed them. Their numbers grew smaller every year. She was chosen, Lyra said, looking down at her hands. Chosen to search for hope. Ethan did not know what to say. He brought her water and food, though she needed much more than a normal person. She thanked him every time, her voice always calm. But something felt wrong. Lyra answered many questions, yet avoided others. Whenever Ethan asked who was chasing her, she became quiet. When he asked how she reached Earth, she only said, "I escaped." That word stayed in his mind. Later that day, Ethan went outside to check the damage around his house. The air smelled fresh after the rain, but the forest felt different now. Too quiet. No birds. No insects. When he returned, he found Lyra standing carefully near the broken wall of the building. Even injured, she moved with surprising grace. She was studying the mountains in the distance. "You should rest," Ethan said. "I cannot rest for long," she replied. "They will come." Her words made his stomach tighten. "Who?" Lyra hesitated again. "Those who fear what they do not control." That answer did not help. As the day passed, Ethan noticed more strange things. The old radio in his house began making short bursts of static. At night, faint signals came through, not voices, just repeating tones. Lyra always looked uncomfortable when the sound appeared. One evening, while she slept, Ethan saw the light under her skin again. It was brighter now, moving slowly across her side like flowing energy. But then he noticed something else. A small metal shape, barely visible near her ribs. At first, he thought it was part of her body. But when the light moved away, the object reflected like steel. Ethan stepped closer, his heart racing. It looked wrong, artificial, a device. The next morning, he asked her directly, "Lyra, is something inside you?" She went very still. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then her shoulders lowered slightly, as if she had been carrying a heavy weight. "Yes," she said quietly. Her people had placed a tracking device inside her before she left. Not to protect her, but to make sure she could be found if she failed. She tried to remove it herself, but the damage nearly killed her. "They do not want me to choose my own path," she explained. "They want results." Ethan felt anger rise inside him. Whoever was looking for her did not sound like rescuers. That night, lights appeared far down the mountain road. Vehicles moving slowly, searching, too organized to be travelers. Lyra saw them too. Fear returned to her eyes. "They found a signal," she whispered. Ethan looked at the approaching lights, then back at her. Just one day ago, his biggest worry had been fixing a broken roof. Now soldiers, or something worse, might be coming for the giant woman hiding on his land. He realized something important in that moment. Lyra had not told him everything yet, and whatever secret she was still hiding, it was big enough to make people cross worlds to find her. Outside, the engines grew louder as the lights moved closer through the darkness. The storm was gone, but the real danger had finally arrived. The lights on a mountain road did not leave. All night, Ethan watched them move slowly through the trees. Vehicles stopped, then moved again, like hunters searching for something they already knew was close. The sound of engines carried through the cold air, low and patient. Inside the storage building, Lyra stayed silent. She listened carefully to every sound outside. Her breathing was slow, but Ethan could see tension in her face. She was afraid, not for herself, but for what might happen if they found her here. "They are not rescuers," she said quietly. Ethan believed her. By morning, The vehicles were gone, but new signs appeared. Fresh tire marks on the dirt road. Footprints near the forest edge. Someone had been close during the night. Ethan's normal life felt very far away now. He brought food to Lyra, and she thanked him as always, but something between them had changed. The truth about the tracking device made everything more serious. Helping her was no longer just kindness. It was a choice with consequences. Why are they really chasing you? Ethan finally asked. Lyra looked at him for a long time before answering. This time, she did not avoid the question. Because I carry something they want, she said. She explained slowly. Her people were not only dying, they had also discovered a way to repair damaged biology, a way to make bodies stronger, able to survive different worlds. The knowledge was stored inside her memory, not in machines, but in her mind. If humans or her own people controlled it, it could change entire civilizations or destroy them. They believe survival is more important than freedom, Lyra said softly. I do not agree. Ethan understood now. She was not only running from extinction, she was running from being used. That afternoon, a helicopter passed high above the mountains. It did not stop, but it circled once before disappearing. Ethan felt a cold knot form in his stomach. They were getting closer. Later, while repairing damage near the barn, Ethan heard movement behind him. Two men in dark clothing stood at the edge of the trees. They did not wear uniforms, but their posture was military. One of them raised a hand calmly. We're looking for someone, the man said. You seen anything unusual after the storm? Ethan forced himself to stay calm. His heart pounded so loudly he thought they could hear it. Just storm damage, he answered. The men studied him carefully, their eyes moving toward the storage building for a brief second. Then they nodded and walked away, but Ethan knew they were not convinced. When he returned inside, Lyra already knew. They spoke to you, she said. He nodded. Silence filled the room again. For the first time, Ethan realized how alone she truly was. A stranger on an unknown world, hunted by both enemies and her own people. Despite her size and strength, she looked small in that moment. I didn't ask for this, Ethan muttered. Lyra's expression softened. Neither did I. That night, the radio started again. The same repeating tones, louder now. Lyra pressed her hand against her side where the device was hidden, pain crossing her face. They are increasing the signal, she said. They want me to answer. Instead, the signal only made her weaker. The glowing lines on her skin flickered unevenly, like failing light. Ethan realized something else then. If they stayed here, she would eventually be found. Or die. Outside, footsteps crunched on gravel. Both of them froze. A shadow moved past the window. Then another. Quiet voices whispered outside the building. They had not waited for morning this time. Lyra slowly pushed herself upright despite the pain. Ethan's hand shook as he looked toward the door. The hunters had finally arrived, and there was nowhere left to run. The footsteps outside stopped near the door. Ethan's heart pounded so hard he could barely think. The shadows moved slowly across the broken window, careful and quiet. Whoever was outside already knew someone was here. Lyra tried to stand, but pain forced her to lean against the wall. The glowing lines under her skin flickered weakly. She was running out of strength. They will not stop, she whispered. If they take me, I will not leave again. Ethan looked around the small building. There was nowhere to hide her, nowhere to escape easily. For a moment, fear told him to walk outside and tell the truth. His life would go back to normal. The danger would end. But when he looked at Lyra, he saw something else. Trust. She had trusted him when she had no reason to. A stranger on a strange world. And now she had nowhere else to go. The door handle moved slightly. Ethan made his decision. There's a path behind the ridge, he said quickly. Old mining road. No one uses it anymore. Lyra looked at him surprised. You would help me escape? Ethan swallowed. If you stay here, they take you. That's not helping. The handle turned again, harder this time. Ethan helped Lyra stand. Every movement looked painful, but she forced herself forward. The back wall of the storage building was already damaged from the storm. With one careful push, she broke enough wood to create an opening. Cold night air rushed inside. They moved into the darkness just as voices shouted from the front of the building. Flashlights cut through the room behind them. Clear the structure. Ethan and Lyra moved slowly up the rocky slope behind the barn. The mountain path was narrow, and Lyra struggled to keep balance. Each step left deep marks in the wet ground. Far below, lights spread across Ethan's property like fireflies. More people were arriving. They will follow, Lyra said. I know, Ethan answered. The climb felt endless. The wind grew colder as they moved higher. After nearly an hour, Lyra suddenly stopped. Her breathing became uneven, and she dropped to one knee, the ground shaking softly beneath her. I cannot go farther, she said. The glow under her skin dimmed again. Earth's air, gravity, and injuries were slowly destroying her strength. Ethan realized the truth he had been avoiding. She might not survive this escape. Why did you really come here? He asked quietly. Not just for a child. There's more. Lyra looked at the distant lights below them. For the first time, her voice carried deep sadness. My people believe survival means control, she said. But I believe survival means trust. I came to find a future where two species could live without fear. She turned toward him. I asked you for hope, not obligation. Before Ethan could respond, bright lights suddenly appeared on the ridge above them. More hunters. They had predicted the escape route. Voices shouted. Weapons lifted. Ethan stepped in front of Lyra without thinking. Fear rushed through him, but he did not move. Then something unexpected happened. Lyra reached forward and gently pulled him back. Despite her weakness, her eyes were calm now. No more running, she said softly. The soldiers moved closer, ordering them to stop. Red targeting lights covered Lyra's body. The glow beneath her skin suddenly grew brighter. Energy moved across her arms like flowing fire. The air around them vibrated. Ethan felt warmth push against him as Lyra stood tall, using the last of her strength. But instead of attacking, she stepped forward to shield Ethan. The ground shook as a burst of light forced the soldiers back. Equipment failed. Lights flickered. For a moment, everything went silent except the wind. Then the light faded. Lyra collapsed. Ethan caught himself before falling as the ground stopped shaking. He rushed to her side. The glow was gone now. Her skin looked pale and still. Lyra, he called, panic rising in his voice. She did not answer. Below them, the soldiers slowly regrouped, unsure of what they had just seen. Some stepped back, afraid. Ethan held his breath, listening for any sign of movement from her. Nothing. The storm clouds above finally began to clear, revealing a cold, empty sky. And for the first time since she arrived, Ethan feared that helping her had come too late. The mountain was quiet after the light faded. Ethan stayed beside Lyra, barely breathing, afraid that any movement would make the moment real. Her body was still, her skin cold against the night air. The glowing lines that once moved under her skin were gone completely. Below the ridge, the soldiers did not move closer. Some spoke into radios. Others watched from a distance, uncertain and afraid after what they had seen. Whatever Lyra had done, it had stopped them, at least for now. Lyra, Ethan said again, his voice breaking. There was no answer. Minutes passed, maybe longer. Time felt slow and heavy. Ethan's mind raced with guilt. If he had refused to help her, if he had told the truth earlier, maybe she would still have strength left. The sound of a helicopter echoed far away, growing louder. Reinforcements were coming. Ethan knew he could not stay there. With effort, he dragged branches and broken rocks around her body, hiding her shape as much as possible from above. He did not know why he was doing it. Maybe to protect her. Maybe because he was not ready to let strangers take her away. By the time the helicopter lights crossed the sky, Ethan had already moved down the opposite side of the ridge. He watched from the shadows as search teams reached the area. They scanned the ground, argued, and searched for hours. But they did not find her. By morning, they were gone. Days passed. The storm damage around Ethan's home slowly disappeared as life returned to normal. Roads reopened. Power came back. People talked about strange lights in the mountains, but no one knew the truth. Ethan tried to return to his old routine, but everything felt different. The storage building stood empty now. The silence inside it felt heavier than before. Sometimes at night, He thought he saw a faint light moving between the trees. But when he looked again, there was nothing. He told himself it was imagination. Then, 3 weeks later, he heard movement near the barn again. Ethan stepped outside carefully. The air was calm, warm with early morning sunlight. For a moment, he saw nothing. Then he noticed the footprints, large but lighter than before. His heart began to race. He followed the marks toward the tree line, and there she was. Lyra stood between the trees, alive. She looked different, thinner, weaker, but standing on her own. The glowing lines had returned, softer now, steady instead of flickering. Her eyes met his, and for the first time, there was peace in them. "You survived," Ethan said quietly, unable to hide his relief. Lyra nodded slowly. "My body changed," she explained. "It adapted, slowly. Earth is no longer rejecting me." She stepped closer, careful not to frighten him. The fear that once surrounded her was gone. She no longer looked like someone running away. "I did not come back to ask for anything," she said. "Only to thank you." Ethan realized then that her mission had changed. She was no longer searching for survival at any cost. She had found something else here. Choice. Trust. The soldiers never returned. Without the signal from the tracking device, they had nothing to follow. Whatever knowledge Lyra carried remained safe inside her, no longer a weapon to be taken. Seasons began to change. Lyra stayed hidden in the mountains, learning slowly, watching human life from a distance. Sometimes Ethan brought supplies. Sometimes they simply talked. Two strangers from different worlds, trying to understand each other. And for the first time, Lyra spoke about the future without fear. "Maybe one day," she said, looking at the horizon, "our people will meet without war." Ethan smiled faintly. He had never planned to become part of something bigger than himself. But one storm, one decision, had changed everything. Human strength had not saved her. Human kindness had. And somewhere beyond the mountains, a new future quietly began. Not built on power or control, but on the simple choice to help a stranger when the storm was at its worst. Sometimes the smallest act of compassion can change more than one world.